Aha Moments is brought to you by Das Fort Media.
Hi everybody, welcome to Conversations with Alena. I'm Alena. In this show, we celebrate moments of divine awareness and where these moments take you in your journey of growth. Join us for conversations exploring people, their aha moments, and the lives they have created. This episode is sponsored by Spaces Quarterly, a modern living guide. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Alena. And today I am so happy to have Jae Rang with us. And I would love to tell you, first of all, I think what I would like to do is go with the quote, because we always start with our quote. Now, she picked these quotes, and I love them. It's called, the first one is, succeed deliberately. And don't you love that? That means going with purpose. And then the second one is, live from the heart. Be a best friend. Enjoy every moment. Oh, Jay, those are awesome.
Thank you.
And then the first thing I want to do is tell you a little bit about Jay. First of all, she has a true passion for corporate mission. Inspiring results on purpose is very important to her. And it is your business, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, she's a student of human behavior and a certified speaker. Now, when she speaks, she delivers on life-changing and personal development programs. And during her training as a professional athlete, which I definitely want to touch on that more, Jay, she learned the true meaning of dedication. And that is something we all would love to learn. Jay is past chair of Promotional Product Professionals of Canada. It's abbreviated with PPPC. And 2011, PPPC Hall of Fame inductee. 2014 Humanitarian Award recipient, and then chair of PPC National Scholarship Program. She's an author, lover of golf, and most importantly, and close to my heart, she's a mother. And first of all, Jay, how many kids do you have?
I have one, my son William, and when I met his dad, he actually had two little girls. So I've had the pleasure of raising two wonderful girls, William's sisters, who now have their own little kids. So we've expanded that family, and we have lots of fun together.
Oh, grandma, how fantastic. I have all boys. So anytime I hear someone say they have girls, I think, oh, how fun.
Yeah, well, it was nice raising the two girls and then having a boy. So
yeah,
that was,
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, boys, they say, are easier, but girls, I think, are fun. But anyway, now also, I want to go back to the quotes, but first, could you tell us a little bit about when you were a professional athlete? Because that's one thing I didn't even know.
Yeah, because when I was in high school, I wanted to be a gym teacher. That was actually what I was studying for. I took all my maths and sciences, and I did a number of sports. I played competitive tennis. I did gymnastics. I danced. But my big sport was figure skating. That was the one that I competed in, and I did that right up until I was 18, and then I signed a contract for an ice show. I skated with the Ice Follies for 2 years.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're my idol. I love ice skating. Yeah. I'm not as good as you, but I used to be pretty darn good, and I loved it. But that's fabulous. Yeah. Wow.
It's a wonderful sport. It's a tough sport, but it's a good sport.
It is a tough sport. It requires a lot more than people think. But
yes.
Now, I want to go back to your quotes.
Okay.
I would love you to tell us a little bit what they mean to you, why you chose them, things like that.
Okay. Succeed deliberately. Now, these are both my quotes. And I, like you, Alena, I love quotes. I use them a lot in my work. I have them around. I have different quote books. And sometimes when I'm writing, I'll look into quotes just for the inspiration and to see what other leaders are saying. I do watch that. But succeed deliberately. It came up a couple of years ago. The work that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis is in promotional marketing. And our corporate mission, Inspiring Results on Purpose, took about 18 months to create, and it was really going through our core values and, what is it that we provide to people. And we recognize that, while we're in the promotional product industry, we actually work very strategically with our customers to help them use promotional products in communication veins and how to build relationships and how to be effective with that.
Nice.
So we kind of leaned off the product a little bit and leaned more towards the strategy. And so succeed deliberately came out of that as my signature quote. Anytime I have my signature, I use succeed deliberately, because we're trying to help people understand, everything needs to have a purpose. Everything needs to funnel through that purpose. So all of the actions you're doing, all the decisions you're making are all stemming from your goals and your, the reason that you're doing what you're doing. So succeed deliberately was born from that.
That's cool.
Having some purpose to what you're doing. That people look at people who are successful, and they say the man at the top of the mountain didn't fall there. It doesn't happen. You can look at somebody else who's successful and you can be envious of them, but that's not going to help you get where you want to go. It doesn't happen by accident. You need to be purposeful in what you're doing.
And they say if you do not have that purpose and firmly in your mind, then you can, it's like somebody told the story about, driving to the store, and if you have a real reason to get to that store, then you won't stop and talk to the neighbor. You won't take the left turn you're not supposed to. You keep going toward your purpose. And the same thing in business. You don't get off on little tangents. You don't do things that don't serve your purpose.
Yeah, I think it is about serving the purpose. And I'm okay with getting off on tangents, because I think if you are aware enough to know what you're hitting along the way that may serve you better than your initial map, because if success isn't a straight line, right? So as you're heading to it, if you're kind of paying attention, the universe is giving you messages as you're coming through that are going to feed into your purpose. And by the time you get there, it might not look exactly like you thought it was going to, but it is probably better.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now, I would love to hear about your a moment of awareness, your aha moment, where you, I'll let you choose one that you think moved you into the direction that you're creating a life that you love, or I think that's the best way to put it. So
okay, there's probably several, but if I backtracked, I'm going to go back to my second quote that you read there. It's three. I call them buckets, and it's live from the heart, be a best friend, enjoy every moment.
Yes.
And when I started to train as a speaker, our trainer. One of the trainers I was working with at the time, he asked us to do, each of us, a 5-minute presentation, which when you are afraid of speaking, 5 minutes is an eternity. So that was our goal at the end of the session. And he said, well, speak on something that you know about, something that you're passionate about. And so when I went to do my very first workshop, I put myself down, I put my name down for a series of business presentations with somebody who it's called the School of Promotional Marketing. And I put myself down to do an 1.5-hour seminar, and he said, what are you going to talk about? And I said, I don't know yet. This was my first kick at the can as being a speaker. Yeah. And so I went back and I really started thinking about, what is it that I'm really good at? And I thought, I'm really good at making mistakes. And rather than beating myself up about that, I guess in my mind I flipped it around and said, well, I'm really good at making mistakes because I'm not afraid to take risks. And so the presentation that I made that day was called OOPS, and the OOPS was an acronym for Out of Our Past Success. And so I shared a lot with people about about fear, about taking risks, about, paying attention to, as we talked about earlier, the universe, presenting some things that, opportunities to you. And one of the exercises in that workshop that I did for everybody near the end, I said to them, let's talk about your personal mission, your personal value, not your business, not you as a family member, but, who are you as a person? Like, what keeps you grounded and what keeps you going? And I had done this work in advance, so I was able to share my work with them, but walk them through this exercise. And what I came up with were those three statements, which was live from the heart, be a best friend, enjoy every moment. Nice. And I each time that I might get a little off track, I go back to that's my statement. That's me. Okay. If I'm not living from the heart, if I'm not 100% in integrity, doing things that I want to do and giving because I want to give, being there because I want to be there, if I'm not in integrity with that, then I'll check myself. So each of those buckets are, as I said, they're my grounding, live from the heart, be a best friend. I feel very strongly that we're all connected and that we're all of one mind. Yeah. I'm not surprised that you feel the same way. Yeah. So I always think that what goes out comes back. And if that we are not islands, we are not disconnected. There's no way that we can feel that even if we're sitting in our houses by ourselves, we can never, ever feel lonely because we are all of one mind, all of one purpose. So understanding that and saying, being a best friend means you don't walk by somebody in the street and not say hello or not help them. I do a lot of community and charity work for that reason because, I realize that, I've been blessed with a lot of gifts and there's a lot of people who, they've got a much more difficult time than I do. So there's a lot of inspiration, a lot of help I can give,
Oh, yeah.
And then the third bucket of enjoy every moment is, along the same lines of, have fun, be on purpose and enjoy your life. And it doesn't mean that every minute of every day is going to be a riot because life isn't like that.
No.
But, it is about perspective. You can always find the good in things.
You can always find the good in things. And that's, that helps you and tremendously in the day. But all right, so you did this wonderful speech, your first speech, and found that you had your own message to bring forth. So then how are you moving on with this speaking career and everything else that you're doing? How has that brought you into where you are?
And that was a while ago. And, you mentioned about fear earlier, about pushing through fear. And I'm telling you, they say that the number one fear is public speaking, but I'm not sure I agree with that. I think the number one fear is looking stupid. I don't think anybody ever wants to look stupid. True. I think that we do so much to protect ourselves from looking foolish or from putting ourselves up for judgment. And going and launching sort of that speaking side of things meant I was putting myself out for criticism. And but I was willing to take the risk. And taking the risk was partly because I was training with Bob Proctor. And Bob's company, LifeSuccess Productions at the time, Bob had decided, and as you know, he's one of the top speakers in the world. He had decided at the time he wanted to begin to multiply himself, and he began this consultants program. And I promise you, Alena, I think I was the first one at the end of the room with my card in hand saying, pick me, pick me. Oh. And I went for training on different programs of Bob's, and that really helped me understand the laws of the universe, which, I mean, we need to have a grasp on.
Yes,
but once you get how things work, and you detach yourself from other people's criticism. Like one of the quotes I love is, somebody else's opinion of you is none of your business. And
I like that.
And you detach yourself, you realize that they're only seeing you through their eyes. So, you need to see yourself through, and not that that's not important, but, if you are in integrity and you're following your purpose, then, you'll kind of keep going. And another of my favorite quotes, my son follows Eric Thomas, and he says, go with people who celebrate you, not who tolerate you.
Yes.
And so when you're trying something new, you need to be around people who celebrate you and who support something new. So I started training with Bob and with a couple other people, and then developing some of my own work. So giving Bob's programs with the Goal Achiever and Science of Getting Rich and Mission and Commission. They're fabulous programs. And then just started extracting material. I started doing some within the industry, on things about trade shows and how that kind of thing. So that's kind of led into my first book that I'm launching next month, which I'm really excited about, called Sensory Media.
Say that again.
It's called Sensory Media.
Very cool. And what is that about?
It's on the industry. I've always seen my industry, the promotional products industry, a little differently. And I think that stems from studying with Bob and understanding that we're sensory beings. And so when you are giving a gift to somebody, first of all, giving something tangible, and exciting somebody with a gift, which is sort of the approach that our industry takes, is a very nice gesture. It's a great way to start a relationship. But it's also, it's because it's tangible and you're involving a lot of the senses. And it's a branded piece that when the brand is not speaking for itself, that piece is speaking for the brand. So, if you've got a pen or a tote bag or a mug or cufflinks or something that you've received from somebody with a brand message on it, a t-shirt, golf shirt, anything like that, every time that you handle that piece, whatever it is, you're interacting with the brand.
That's right.
So we're involving our senses, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so I give out a lot of chocolate for that reason. Involve as many senses as we
taste.
can.
That taste is very important.
But
opening packages, and I know if you are presented with like a seminar or somewhere where you're going to be hearing a lot, it's nice to also have that touch, that surprise, that taste, that whatever it is, that
it's true.
It's just true. Giving that tangible feeling of something that is nice. It's just a nice addition.
That's right. And it's half in the presentation too, isn't it, Alena? I mean, if somebody takes the time to wrap a gift or put it in a nice bag or deliver it to you personally, we're working on a trade show for somebody right now, and she saw some of the custom molded chocolate we had done. She goes, I'm doing a show in Washington, D.C. This would be perfect. And we've got, a guy at our booth that's all dressed up. And I said, well, if that's the case, I said, let's really be careful of how we wrap that chocolate, and let's put it on a silver tray. If it's on a tray and you're actually presenting it to somebody as opposed to sticking in a bowl and letting everybody kind of reach in and grab their own. Yes. So
you make them feel very special. You make them feel.
That's right.
You give value to them, and they start to value themselves even more.
Exactly.
It works really well. And then I want to kind of go back. I remember even in Bob's story. When Bob started, he was very, very shy.
Yes.
and he conquered his because of his desire to want to reach people and get messages out, just like you. And I think he was afraid of criticism. And every day, people make decisions based on fear. And it's the fear that holds them back. Fear of what their parents might say, or their siblings, or their friends, or just associates. Anyone who wants to think out of the mold, wants to try something different, gets held back. Oh, and then, of course, you're dealing with the chatter that goes on in your head. That negative chatter, those old, beliefs that are stuck in there that you can't do it. Why do you think you're special? Why do you think I should?
Right.
All that kind of, we all have it. We all have it. But,
toxicity.
Isn't it though? And then because you are doing so well in conquering your fear and trying new roads and not afraid to veer off course and get back and all these really neat things that you're doing, obviously you've got a little way that you know how to get through that fear, get through. And yes, it is the information you've been learning, but there's more there than that, because a lot of people are hearing the same information and are not making it happen. So Jae, what are you doing that's just a little bit different?
First of all, it's not that fear does not exist, believe me. It really is about managing fear. And, the fear will always exist. I think,
yes.
There are a few things. There's a few things in my toolbox. And
Cool.
one of them is what we, talked briefly about earlier about other people's opinions.
Right.
Once I understood that their opinion was based on their conditioning and their place in their life and everything, I worried less about what that opinion meant to me. And not to say that I don't listen to people, because I absolutely do. But I kind of filter it a little bit. I take the good from it, and I take the criticism. I'm open to that. But I don't let it stop me from at least doing something that I believe is where I need to be.
Right.
And we know that. I mean, our instincts, if you allow your instincts to surface, they're just so strong. So sometimes,
yes.
Somebody will give you some information or feedback or whatever. Absolutely be open to listen to it. But, in your heart what is kind of going to work for you. So
Exactly.
I think I've learned to filter that. I think that's one of it. I think another one is you overcome fear by doing. We are such our own worst critics.
Oh, aren't we though?
We,
my gosh.
we create these horrible situations sometimes by previewing. We have the ability in our mind's eye to preview what a situation might look like and all of the ways that it might play out.
Yes,
and
yes.
we've stopped ourselves before we even start.
Yes,
so
we do.
I think if we kind of take it back and we go, what's the worst that can happen? What's
right.
the best that can happen?
That's right.
And if you continue to do things and put yourself in a situation, you gain experience. When my son was golfing, he still golfs competitively, but when he was competing as a junior in school, and he was very nervous about going out competing when he first started to take golf lessons, and then he was 13, so I mean that's a really vulnerable age too.
It is, yes.
And I said to him, at the time, you're going to learn so much about yourself. Like, I know they call it competition, but let's not even worry about anybody else.
Right.
You're going to learn so much about yourself when you're out there.
That's right.
And and he would get upset if he landed in the sand or in the woods or whatever.
Yes.
And I said, but the good news is, if you land in the sand a whole bunch of times, you're going to know how to get out of the sand.
That's
if you
exactly
never
right.
practice in the sand or never practice in the woods or anything, when you go out in a tournament, if you land in that position, you're not going to be able to handle it. So
That's exactly
doing
right.
something, putting yourself out there, and each time you do it, you learn. Bob is
right.
obviously a master presenter, and so he makes it look ridiculously easy. But
Yes.
the way that he makes it easy is because he practices and he
Constantly.
studies, and each time he makes that presentation, even though he's done it 1,000, 2,000 times, he makes it a little bit better
Yes.
each time.
Yes, he does.
So and that's how he didn't land there.
Exactly.
It's from practice, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also for everyone, it's not being afraid of making the mistakes, because by making, like you said with the golf, if you're not in that sand, you'll never know how to deal with it. And I think that's how we should treat life. And I know that's what you're saying. I'm just reiterating
it's not. They
more.
say you win some, you lose some. I mean, other
Right.
people say you win some, you learn some, right?
I
Because
like
it's never
that
a
much
loss;
better.
it's always a learning opportunity.
It's a learning.
Yeah.
And so we're never failures. One quote I love is, failing is quitting. Quitting is failing, but mistakes are not failing.
No.
You learn from your mistakes, and then you do better next time.
It's true.
And it gives you experience.
And you're right, and it is, as I said, their fear definitely comes into play. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, you talk to any of the greats, and I think a lot of actors on stage, especially.
Yes.
I mean, they're known for having low self-esteem issues and very shy people. And when they come into their character, they own the character. But
That's
behind
right.
the scenes, I mean, their self-critics are usually pretty darn heavy duty there.
Isn't that amazing?
But they're able to put themselves in situations where they can overcome their fear. And I think that's a big part of it. As I said, not so much worrying about what other people think, following what is the right thing to do, and then just going out and doing it. And the more you do it, the less the fear is. I don't think fear is a bad thing, though. I don't think it is. I think when anytime I go to speak, I always have a little trepidation, but I think that is because I want to be good for the audience. I want to give them my best self. And if I wasn't a little bit afraid, then I think I would be too complacent,
I used to sing in my younger days. I used to, actually, as a professional, I used to sing opera. And when before I got up on stage, I would have to, how would you say it? You take that nervousness. I could gauge how nervous I was. And there was that nervousness that would totally handicap you. Your breathing wouldn't work right, nothing. But I always found, and I know it sounds funny, I would always free myself up with dance before I got on. And free up the body, some say move the energy, whatever, to get that around, feel playful. And then that nervousness, I would consciously turn it into excitement. And to enhance my performance, to go out there and give my best. Instead of, because fear can handicap you, and everyone knows that. But if you know that, and you believe in yourself, and you know what you want to do, then you can consciously free yourself up and change it and use it for your benefit to go after your purpose.
And easier said than done. When my son was golfing, I used to say to him, the one thing that you cannot practice is nervousness. The only way you can overcome your nervousness is by playing more tournaments.
That's right.
And so you learn to put yourself in that situation where you're nervous and you draw on your tools of focus or, I know in the speaking when I learned, my very first trainer said, you need to remember you are the gift that you're bringing to the room.
That's right.
And that people want you to succeed.
They do.
So, when you do that, you go, I'm in a room full of people who want me to do well. Like they care. They care. They're not here ready to throw eggs. They've paid money to come here because they want what I've got. So
that's an eye-opening feeling, isn't it?
Exactly what you said, Alena. You turn that fear into excitement because you can't wait to get out there and share with them.
You can't wait to share, and they can use it, and you've got a good message.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's fabulous. Okay. So now you've got this book coming out, and from there you're going to be even speaking more. Is that your plan?
Once this book started to come together, it's been a long time in the making. And once it started to come together, I had made a decision that I was going to do 2 more this year as well. And the second one is based on, I write every Monday morning called an aha moment Monday. And it's basically an insight into, a little bit of a shift in perspective. And it was just a way of staying in touch with people without being salesy, right? And just sharing some insights and whatever.
Which is fun.
And people are really enjoying them. So they have encouraged me to put them in some kind of a book. So I've decided to take 52 of them and put them into a little journal, so that you get an aha and then you have a little journal page. And then the third one, I'll hopefully start to work on this summer, which is the book of Oops, from my very first presentation. And that one will be a collection of stories from people where what seemed to be the worst thing that could have happened to them at the time turned out to be one of the best things. We hear stories about that all the time, about people either, losing a loved one or missing a flight or getting fired from a job. And then they go, man, it was a blessing in disguise. And so the book is going to be about fear, and it's going to be about trust. And so none of these are connected, which is kind of cool. But, so yes, from a speaking standpoint, I'm looking forward to being out sharing the books with people and talking exactly what we're talking about, Alena, about fear and trust and, getting some of those monkeys off our back.
And trust is so trusting in yourself. I mean, it is so related to, because if you trust in yourself and trust in the universe, the fear does go away,
It does. Yeah, it does. It's
so
one of my
very
friends
related.
wrote a book called Jump and the Net Will Appear.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and I like that.
I like that too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was building a recording studio, and that's what he did. He said, I just had to keep going, So my first book is kind of like that. I have no idea where it's going to take me. I have a plan in my mind where I think it might, but I'm kind of open to it. I'm just going to jump and we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Very cool. Now I'm going to take you back just for a little bit more here. Okay. You do a lot of, you said you do a lot of service work, to help others. And I'm a big proponent of that myself. And would you talk a little bit about what that does, not only for the people and that you're helping, because we are all connected, but what does it do for you? Because when we give out,
I guess there's some ego involved. I mean, it always makes you feel good, but I mean, there's scientific proof to say that your endorphins are enhanced when you do something good for somebody. Mm-hmm. So it does make you feel good to help somebody. It feels like you've extended a little piece of yourself somewhere.
You have.
I think I run into a lot of people who are so nervous about doing any kind of volunteer or giving work. They're afraid to commit. They're afraid it's going to take too much of their time. They're afraid they're going to have to attend meetings and they're going to have to do all this stuff. And there's so much out there. And here's the paradigm shift is that those people are nervous about losing something. They're losing their time, losing their attention, losing, maybe their skill set. But they don't recognize what they're gaining by it. And, as you said, like the sort of the feel-good factor of helping somebody. One of the very first groups that I got involved with before my son was born was Junior Achievement. And I wasn't that far along in my business. I didn't have a business degree or anything. I didn't know how I could help these kids. But, somebody asked me if I would come in and sit on one of their little councils and we help the kids build their businesses. And I realized how much I had to offer. And for that reason, I think I love the Montessori teaching program, because as soon as you learn something, they start to get you to teach it.
That's
and
right.
so it's a way of kind of giving back a little bit, but know when you know something when you teach it. So I think that makes a difference. As I said, it is definitely the feel good factor. But if we all did a little bit somewhere, then I don't know, we'd all feel better and we'd all be better connected. I know that sounds so idealistic,
well,
but
no, it's not. And nowadays so much. I don't know. I travel a lot, and when I sit in the airports, I see everybody on cell phones or on little computer pads, and a lot of times people are losing connection. They don't talk. I see it even walking down the street, and I think helping or getting involved in helping with people, also, like you said, it keeps us connected and on a very basic level, and knowing that you can make a humongous difference in someone's life if you allow yourself.
That's right. But it does mean that you are putting yourself in a vulnerable state, because you are putting yourself in a position of, again, possibly looking stupid, possibly not connecting with somebody or whatever. And I think you're right. The cell phone barriers right now are so huge.
Oh, tremendous.
And I'm not going to, I think the new generation has a great way of connecting. I mean, they've got some tasks that we don't,
right?
But we didn't, they've developed some really cool things about communication that we didn't have.
They have.
But in the meantime, that sort of one-to-one, that human connection, we have such an innate desire for it. Like, it's just so deep. Yes, and when we stop ourselves from that, we put those barriers up. And whether it's I was in Bermuda on business in November, and I took a colleague of mine and we went down to the restaurant at the end of the day. It was probably about 11 o'clock by the time we finished everything we were doing. And I think it was on a Saturday night, and we're looking around the bar and we're seeing a lot of people that were obviously on date nights. And we could not believe how many of them, boyfriends, girlfriends, husband and wife, were sitting there with their phones in front of them.
Oh, you're
kidding.
And
they're sitting at the table, side by side in a booth or at the table, whatever, and they're both on their phones. And I was going to take a picture of it. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, you have such a great opportunity to give something to someone, even if it's the art of listening, just, hey, what's going on with you? And, tell me what's happening.
Oh my gosh.
And just
being
the
in
opportunity.
The present, that present moment is right there for them.
That's right.
And they're missing it,
Yes, and they're missing it. So it's like, one of the things I learned when I was training with Bob and going through, a lot of the, the laws and the spiritual teachings and that was, one of the things was Bob said, the opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is fear.
Right.
And so when I wrap my head around that, I always look now when people are doing something or not doing something, I say, are they doing it through love, or are they doing it through fear?
Yeah.
Are they stopping themselves because of, love, or through fear? And
That's right.
So when you look at it that way and you say, the people on their cell phones walking down the street, I like to run through the neighborhood and I talk to everybody. And I'm not a super outgoing person, but I can't pass by somebody and not at least connect eyes. But I'm amazed at how many people are in their own worlds that they won't even look up. So it's like, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?
What are you afraid of? It's very true. And even science has shown isolation causes anxiety, it causes depression, it causes all, because you become unsure. And if you just reach out, and that's why if you reach out and you help someone, the first thing you should do if you're not feeling like yourself is help someone. And through that, you open a gateway and you start opening yourselves up to the present, the now, conquering your own fears.
Well, it's true. And, the whole, philanthropic and getting involved with people and groups and everything. I mean, I've had an opportunity through some of the work that I've done from a charitable standpoint to build organizations and build initiatives like the scholarship program I chaired. Yes, I've had the opportunity. I would never have had that opportunity in my own business. So when you go into some of these organizations, I sit on 2 committees for the local hospital, and, we're building this hospital together. I mean, you're part of a much bigger picture and a much bigger purpose. So I think that makes you feel good, and you're learning so many more skills that you wouldn't learn in your own business, right? That, going out and trying different things. Yeah.
That's very,
but I stepped up that volunteering during the recession. I always have a percentage of my time that's volunteering, but I stepped it up during the recession, and I thought, you know what, I'm not as busy as I'd like to be, but which means if I don't have anything else, I have some time, and so I started looking for some organizations that I could volunteer with in addition to the regular work I was doing, and that that saved all of us. You're right, it saved me from some isolation. It got me out with some other groups, and hey, at the end of the day, I mean, it was good for business too, which was the little bonus I wasn't expecting to happen.
Right. Oh, and those are the best kind. And see, that's an aha moment for someone who might not be busy, who might not be, and think, oh my gosh, maybe I should get out there and help a little bit. So, I think that's fantastic.
Put yourself out there, absolutely.
Put yourself out there, and the things that will come are
People
just
are
fabulous.
Actually pretty nice.
They are very nice. It's true. My mother used to always say, I just don't know a stranger. And to this day, whenever I go anywhere, she always says, now don't talk to strangers. And I just look at her and I say, really?
Well, I was funny in sales training years ago. I was in a sales training, and the the trainer at the front of the room said, what is the issue behind that? Why are we like that? Why do we have so much trepidation to going in and making a cold call or seeing a customer? And I put my hand up, and that's exactly what I said was, when we were young, we were taught not to talk to strangers.
Oh, interesting.
And I think that paradigm is so ingrained. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See what we teach and how it doesn't benefit us sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, now, Jae, this has been fabulous. Is there anything you would like to add about what you're doing, or where you would, what you would like to offer people, or your website where I'm sure people are going to want to look you up. So, go ahead, and this is the time to let them know
for
how
the
they
shameless
can get
self-promotion.
Well, that shameless, yes.
First of all, I will encourage them to listen to all of your podcasts.
Well, thank you. I love that too.
If all your interviews are as good as this one, I think we've had a really good time, and I've really enjoyed sharing this. And thank you for your questions and for the platform. It's been really, really wonderful having this time with you.
I thank you for talking about fear. Because you and I both know there are so many people who are scared to step through that door out of their prison. So
and I think that's the big lesson, isn't it? That it's not that it won't exist. You look at people who are successful and put themselves out there. Don't think for a moment that fear doesn't cross their mind, or that there aren't stumbling blocks. I mean, they just they exist for all of us. It's just part of human nature. But it is about stepping out and trying a few things and maybe not the big thing right away, but maybe some small stuff just to kind of test yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
experiment. Gain
yeah.
that trust in yourself. The more success
sure.
you have, the larger steps you take.
Yeah.
It's very, very
and
true.
I think the other thing around fear that, when I started studying the laws of the universe, and one of the first ones that I really started putting to the test because I thought it was so fascinating was the law of attraction. And,
yes.
And, that, and of course, we're going back, 15, 20 years when I started learning this. Yeah. And, starting from, and you're going to laugh at this one, but starting from having my son was I visualized so clearly having a boy, how much he weighed, what the kind of person he was going to become, and everything, and that's how I buy my houses. That's how I hired my staff. Yep. And that's how I get a parking spot in the most crowded garage. Yeah. But when you understand the law of attraction and you have that clear mental picture of what it is that you want, then I think the fear is a little more eliminated because again we talked about trust. The trust is enhanced because you've got, I always say it's kind of like the puzzle box top that, once you have the puzzle box top, all of the people will find their pieces, their ownership to your puzzle, and they'll start to help you.
That's right. But
until you have that puzzle box top, until you have that clear mental picture, you can't build anything. But that does it eliminates a little bit of the fear.
It does. It
enhances the trust factor because you know what you're going for. So.
You do, and you trust in the universe, and you trust in yourself. But also that focus. If you do that visualization and you work, you know what you want, and and you've got your purpose, and you're visualizing it. Then your focus alone raises your vibration, knowing that you're going to achieve that somehow, some way. It raises your vibration, and
that's right, because you start to get emotionally involved in it, right? Yeah,
it's
exactly.
in every part of your being, and then everything aligns. It all comes together.
Yeah, it does, and not always the way you expect it. But Bob's got a testimonial on his site from me about that I had won my goal card that I wanted $1.2 million in my bank account, and by December 15th, and that was going back a number of years, and it long story short, it took 2 years, but within a couple of days of the date on the goal card, it was December 15th, and I think it was December 13th. Somebody called and asked me to get involved in a project, and the project was exactly $1.2 million. So
fantastic.
I think that it's true. You have to have an understanding of the laws and the fact how much control you've got over it. And setting up your goals. So
that's right. That's right. Oh my
So
gosh.
if somebody wants to connect with me, it's Jae Rang. That's the best way to find me. The middle initial M, and on Facebook or LinkedIn, or the website is jayassociates.com. Sensory Media, the first book will be is sensorymedia.ca, but that website's still under construction because the book hasn't launched yet, so we're just working on that. But
Fabulous. This has been so much fun, and I thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know you have brought a lot of aha moments out there, so I'm thrilled. So, very, very nice. And
my pleasure.
Everyone else, if you are looking for other podcasts, you can look on iTunes, you can look on the YouTube, and also you can go to my website, alenachapman.com, and we list them all there. But the best part, I'm glad you're here, and I hope you got something out of this fantastic interview. And make it an awesome day, everyone. Make it an awesome day. Thank you. Bye-bye. You can learn more about me by visiting alenachapman.com or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.